Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this is our fourth session of the 6 sessions with Elizabeth Devlin, where I've been interviewing her about the Enneagram in different sections. Tonight, we're going to be looking at a very interesting section, which is to do with the gifts of the Enneagram or the virtues of the Enneagram. So welcome, Elizabeth. How are you today?
I'm
So
very
lovely
well, thank
to have
you.
you
Yes.
here. And I've been getting such a lot of comments about how you really are making a lot of people's week and they really feel like they are being able to explore a little bit about the Enneagram. So thank you for being here and for sharing this information with us. So Liz, you mentioned to us that in the first session that you'd begun training in 1989 to become a minister. And this was when you first heard about the Enneagram. You also said that you didn't just want to learn about God, but that you wanted to experience God or the Creator or the sacred mystery in as much depth as was possible. That this was really important to you. And in terms of any culture, any creed, or even science. So I wonder if you could maybe explore this with us and also maybe just kind of wrap up where we are at this point in the Enneagram. We're on session 4 now. So if you can kind of take the viewers from when we first started to where we are now, that would be amazing. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Tanya. Yes, I've always wanted to experience our Creator, not just to learn about, because it's a totally uncomprehensible, um, unknowable state. So I don't want to learn about, I want to experience the Creator and creation. So this has always given me um, a slant, a skew of attention, which is known as a bias. So I've often had a bias when I look at things because I want to understand the spiritual aspect of the Enneagram. And then in the second part, in the second section, I spoke about the Enneagram as an arcanum, which is a mysteriously, deeply, densely encoded symbol, which can take many forms. And it conveys objective, metaphysical, often mysterious information and knowledge. And I also spoke about the Enneagram as a map. And I think the thing to remember about a map is that it plots what already exists. It demarcates existing territory. And it's very important to remember that the Enneagram doesn't tell us what to do, where to go, how to get there, wherever there is. It's important to know that it demarcates certain avenues and territories, and that's its power. So when I look at the Enneagram, I look from a spiritual slant or from a spiritual bias. We've all got biases and we've all got many of them. So I want to learn to understand how can this map help me to experience our Creator in creation. It's all about the experience. And so it's important to remember that whoever looks at the map, and sometimes it's believed there are many maps because people speak so differently about the map, but the Enneagram map itself has so many layers and textures and understandings. There isn't just one flat map. It is multifaceted, multi-layered, multi-dimensional. So I look at the Enneagram from a spiritual perspective, hopefully. I've always wanted to grasp the deeper spiritual differences between the points because they're so profound, the differences, and they're so significant. So I want to know what's at the very heart of all this. What's at the heart of everything? And as I worked on myself, with my family, with my friends, with my students, the gifts of the points began to emerge. And those gifts are pretty significant.
Wow. Thanks, Liz. I see quite a few viewers are joining in already. Please remember, we would love comments, we would love questions. Please ask them. And we will, towards the end of the session, of the interview, I'm going to be bringing up those questions, and Liz actually excels. She comes alive when there's questions. So please, please give us as many as you can, and we'll try and get them in before Cyril Ramaphosa speaks to us this evening at 8 o'clock, I believe. So Liz, so thank you about that. Thank you for exploring that again with us and reminding us that it's a map. I know that I felt pretty much like a pilgrim on the pathway through this Enneagram journey. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You also spoke about receptors last week, in terms of picking up an awareness of the consciousness that's always present, it's always surrounding us. And you spoke very beautifully about the head and the heart and the gut. So I wonder if you could maybe just say a little bit more about that so that viewers could catch up with that session if they might have missed that.
Okay, well, I think what's so profound about that for me is we've all got 360 degrees of reality, forever present, eternally. But what you pick up, Tanya, from that 360 degrees, what you tune into, what you pick up, what you receive is very different to what I pick up or receive.
Okay.
And the information that I pick up is very different to my husband, very different to my sons, and different to their families and their spouses. So out of this 360 degrees of reality, we all tune in to something specific. And that's actually, according to our point, we will pick up specific information. And I just have to think about that for a moment, and it can actually blow my mind.
Mm.
What I pick up from reality is very different to what you pick up. Isn't
That
that
is
incredible?
interesting. It's fascinating because, and then we often assume that the other person is exactly thinking about exactly the same things as
Yes.
us.
And then we argue about it. We start wars over it. But
I've got some lovely
each,
questions so far, but we'll do them at the
okay.
end.
So each point on the Enneagram holds the pattern, the power, and the potential for an incredibly specific quality or virtue. And I don't like to talk about it as a gift because that implies that I have a gift. It implies separation to me. Whereas this is an energy. Virtue comes from the word verve, meaning energy.
Okay.
And so we all hold a specific energy. So we can feel when that energy is out of alignment or out of integrity or out of sync. We can feel that in ourselves. And
Okay.
equally profound, especially in South Africa or in Africa in general, with the fact that we are the Rainbow Nation, often termed. Our race, color, creed, gender, socioeconomic background, our education have nothing to do with this energy. This virtue, this energy that we are, is regardless, goes way, way beyond of any differences that we think are in the way. So we're not going to go too much deeper in that because I really want to go into the specific gifts,
Okay.
specific the
Yes.
specific energies or virtues.
Thank you, Liz. So, from what I'm picking up, like you've said, so out of the 360 degrees of reality, we all have got this different slant, or what we're picking up is different. You used the word integrity, and I just want
Mm.
to just define that a little bit more for the viewers. Are you talking here about moral integrity, higher principles? What does that mean? Picking up something which is out of integrity.
Thank you, because that's a very valuable question. Thank you, Tanya.
Okay.
Integrity means wholeness. That's what integrity means, wholeness. It refers to an undivided state. a pure, undivided state where there isn't any lack of corruption, lack of sound construction, or lack of purity in any word. So from the word integrity, we get the words integrated and integral, or integral, depending on what side of the what side of the pond you come from. Therefore, we can all, every single one of us, can think, feel, and sense when something is out of integrity, when it's out of alignment. We use the words out of sync. So we could say out of its pure state. So that could be the ecosystem is out of alignment with ourselves. Any body worker will be able to sense if we are out of alignment, out of adjustment, out of integrity with ourselves. Or even a computer program is something not quite right. There's something amiss. So integrity really implies a wholeness and a pure, undivided state. So you can sense that. The head points can sense it in the head, the heart points can sense it in the heart, and the body-based people can sense it with the gut.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that might identify themselves as a head type or a heart type or a body type, and they will know what you're talking about in terms of something being out of integrity and picking it up through different centers. I wonder, Liz, could we go a little bit further into the, I know that you don't like the word gifts per se of the Enneagram, that's kind of how it's known in the Enneagram learning, but could you tell us then about the values or the virtues, as you said? How would you explain them?
Okay, so let's start at the top of the diagram. We've got a circle and we've got a triangle. So we start at point 9, which is at the pinnacle. So at the pinnacle, this is where we all begin. Regardless, we all begin here. And 9s are the bringers of omnipresence, which is seen in the world as unity, charity, or love. Point 9 holds the pattern, the power, and the potential for everything. It is an extremely powerful point. We all know that this space. We all began our lives here. And I like to quote Elizabeth Browning here, as it applies to point 9 beautifully. And it's always an opportunity for me to be a little bit dramatic. So this is actually point 9. This is the experience of point 9. Earth's crammed with heaven, and every common bush alive with God. And only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit round and pluck blackberries. So that's how it is for the 9. Earth's crammed with heaven, absolutely crammed with heaven. It's a unified, undivided state, pure state. Okay, so this is the place, point 9, which is the place of unity, the place of harmony, the place of peace. And 9s know, they can sense when something is out of unity, out of harmony, out of peace. I have a point 9 who's a member of my family who, when he was little, he used to say, "There's a disturbance in the force." He could sense it. And I used to look around and see where's this disturbance? He said, "No, Mom, there's a disturbance in the force." So there's obviously more to it than that. But so point 9 at the pinnacle is the starting point. And then point 9 explodes. It expands to point 8 and point 1. So point 8, 9, and 1 are all strongly connected with a desire to hold the unity, to keep the peace, and to have balance and harmony in their lives. Point 8 takes this unity, peace, and harmony to the outer world, and the word used there is justice. They can tell, they can sense with their body when something is in or out of justice. They can sense if something's just or not. And point 1, take the unity, peace, and harmony to the inner world, to the internal world. And this is seen as wholeness or integrity. So they will be able to sense again if something is whole and complete or it's out of integrity, out of its wholeness.
So
Now
Liz,
these,
sorry.
now the distinction. So this
Yes.
word justice for the 8 and wholeness for the 1 is not personal. And that's quite important. It's not about my justice or my integrity. It actually goes way beyond that. Sometimes it gets mixed up. You know, is this my justice or your justice or justice per se? Or is this my integrity or your integrity? But this is where we learn and more. And there isn't enough time to explain all that.
Thanks, Liz. I think what I wanted to ask then is how would the 8, 9, and 1 then know if something is out of unity, out of justice, or out of, did you say, wholeness or integrity?
Yes. Well, they will receive from this 360 degrees of reality, or the stream of consciousness within which we live and move and have our being, they will be able to pick up via the trillions of receptors on our trillions of cells. They will pick them up. Again, my receptors don't pick up what your receptors do. So an 8, 9, and 1 will pick up via the receptors on their gut. And remember, your enteric nervous system is from your mouth to your anus. So every organ, every lymph system, everything in the whole body will be picking up what is just or unjust, what is in or out of integrity. So receptors on the gut and every organ. That's how an 8, 9, and 1 will know something's amiss, out of sync, per se.
Thanks.
Then shall we move to the right-hand side of the diagram? Point 3.
Yes. Let me just, this question, I just wanted to say, yes, you can catch up. Any viewers out there who kind of trying to find their feet and might have missed the first couple, you can catch up. There is a YouTube channel, and I did post both links on the different platforms. So you can definitely catch up, and I'll post them again. So thanks, Liz. You said you were going to move to the right-hand side of the diagram.
We can move to the right-hand side, which is the place of the heart. This deep and wonderful organ, this place of the heart. These people on the right-hand side, the heart brings hope. Hope eternal, mercy and love. Amazing qualities. Hope is seen in the world as moving towards the goal, moving towards the target. But most people don't know the deep inner significance of this. There's a fire in the heart of a point 3 that can take you wherever you need to go. So point 3 brings the hope in the form of forward moving action, forward moving energy. And then point 3 explodes and expands and creates point 2 and point 4. And now remember, 2 and 4 have their ground in 3. They are based in point 3 and the heart. So 2 and 4 are variations of point 3, and they also bring hope eternally. So point 2 and 4 point 2 takes the hope and the mercy and love to the outer world, and point 4 takes that to their inner world. Now, point 2 takes the hope and the love and the mercy to the outer world in the form of loving kindness and service. And they will know what is loving, what is kind, and who is in need of service in the moment. And this can get mixed up on a personal level, but it's not necessarily personal love. It starts off as a pure love. And point 4 takes the hope, the mercy, and the love to their inner world, to their inner heart. And mercy is the most profound quality here, and it is often seen as forgiveness. And they can tell who needs forgiveness, who needs mercy. Is something merciful? Is a situation merciful? Is a circumstance forgiving or not? They can sense in that moment what is merciful and what is forgiveness.
So Liz, how would these points then on the right side of the diagram, the points 2, 3, and 4, how would they know if a situation or a certain something that they've picked up is lacking in mercy, love, or is hopeless? How would they get an understanding of that if it was out of integrity?
The heart, the beautiful heart. The heart, which is a receiver and transmitter of energy, the heart will tell them. One of my students who's a 4, she says, I can feel it in all 4 chambers of my heart. And she also says, and my heart fills my whole body. So again, all these trillions of receptors are peaked on the heart, around the heart, on all 4 chambers. And the heart itself knows when a situation is hopeless, then a 3 will move forward. The heart knows when there's a situation that needs loving kindness or service, then the 2 will move forward. And
Wow.
then the heart of the 4 takes in to their heart something that needs forgiveness or mercy from others or for others. So students will say there's a powerful disturbance in their heart when something is out of alignment or out of integrity. They feel it in their heart.
Sure. Thank you for clarifying that. So we've covered the gut, we've covered the heart, and on the
now
other
we'll
side,
go to the left-hand side of the diagram. These people are the bringers of faith. Now, holy faith or faith in general is often mistaken as belief, but it's nothing to do with belief. Belief actually starts at point 3 on the right-hand side. So faith is more akin to trusting and holding what is known and what is unknown together. It's not needing proof or verification. There's just a deep knowing and a deep trusting and holding the invisible and the visible together, the known and the unknown together. And they do this with faith. And the gifts of the sixth arena is faith, knowledge, and bliss. And actually, it's omniscience more than knowledge, but seen in the world, it is knowledge. So the six expands. Well, first it explodes and then expands to 0.5 and 0.7. So 5 and 7 have their base in 6. They are grounded in 6. So their core is 6, the same as 2 and 3's core. 2 and 4's core is 3, and 8 and 1's core is 9. So 7s will take the faith, the bliss, and the knowledge to the outer world. And 0.5 will take the faith and the bliss and the knowledge to the inner world. Actually, I shouldn't be going to my heart, I should be going to my head, because it's in the head, it's the brain. Okay? So 0.7 takes the faith, the bliss, and the knowledge to the outer world in the form of joy and delight and the offering of many, many options. No closure, no ending. And holy bliss is not necessarily personal bliss, although the two can get mixed up. And 0.5 takes the faith, the bliss, and the omniscience, which is then termed as knowledge or information, to their inner world. And they will know who lacks information, who lacks knowledge, and how can they extend themselves in the moment. And this is not necessarily personal knowledge. This goes way beyond the personal, although the two can get mixed up very easily. So we could say, shall I go into how the...
Let me, yeah, I
okay,
think what I want
yeah.
to ask there, Liz, is that's beautifully explained. So how would these points 5, 6, and 7 then know if something is faithless or lacking in bliss or without knowledge or omniscience, the word that you used, omniscience? How would they know
Thank
that?
you. They would know via trillions of receptors on their brain, which we know is a receiver and transmitter of coded information and of frequencies. I've got a 5 family member who says that he's got all these like radio frequencies in his brain, and he can pick which frequency you are on, and he can feel if your frequency is out of integrity. How's that? He can
Wow.
feel if your frequency is out of sync, and maybe a deeper understanding of a certain subject or something is necessary. So they pick up in their brain when something is out of sync, out of integrity. And students often say that there's a disturbance or a confusion in the brain. There's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of understanding, there's a great confusion in certain circumstances. So they know their receptors have picked up something that is out of sync.
So these students that you're speaking about, Liz, now would these be students that identify with kind of that side, with their brains not being able to, or they would pick up and when something is out of alignment in terms of their thinking, brain patterns?
Yes, yes. And that leaves a confusion in the brain. Whereas when a heart pointer 2, 3, and 4 picks up something that's out of alignment, there's a powerful disturbance in the heart. And when an 8, 9, and 1 pick up a disturbance, something that's out of sync, out of integrity, they will usually feel it in their gut or their lower back. So we tend to have physical disturbances if something is out of alignment. So an 8, 9, and 1 might tend to have problems in the lower back area or the gut because something's out of sync. And the heart people, 2, 3s, and 4s, tend to have physical disturbances or emotional disturbances around the heart. And equally, 5, 6s, and 7s will have a confusion in the brain. There's a lack of clarity.
Wow. You've actually highlighted some beautiful differences between, different types of people, and why I perhaps see things differently from somebody else, and why I perhaps pick up different things from somebody else. So Liz, we're going to maybe have some time to answer some questions. I've got quite a few, so we've got some lovely questions.
Okay.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
Hopefully.
Great. Okay, so I think the one that I had up just now was from Pamela Bolton. I just wanted to bring that up quickly. Is it possible to move between the different energies depending on the situation?
Yes and no. That's quite paradoxical, Pam. Because when we're in stress, which I'm going to speak about next week, when we're under a lot of stress, our position moves. And when we're feeling particularly secure, again, we change. So, yes, but there's one predominant core value. You see, the thing is here, it's about the gift, the virtue. So point 1, well, let's start at the 9. Point 9 are the bringers of unity, wholeness, unity, peace, and harmony. And point 1 are the bringers of wholeness or holy perfection. Point 2 are the bringers, they actually bring love. 3s are the bringers of hope. 4s are the bringers of mercy. 5s are the bringers, they bring information and knowledge. 6s are the holders of the faith. 7s bring holy bliss. 8s bring justice. And 9s bring the omnipresence. So it would take more than me just now to explain all those differences. But it's partly true, Pamela.
You're going to talk about more about that next week, so that'll be very
I will.
interesting.
Yes, yes.
I just want to go back a bit. This is a lovely question from Simon. What has studying the Enneagram taught you, Liz?
Oh my goodness, 1,000 things. Absolutely 1,000 things. It's actually taught me what I set out, even as a child, Simon. It's taught me I've wanted to experience what we call God. I want to experience the holy mystery in as many forms, designs, occasions, circumstances as possible. And this is what the Enneagram has taught me, how to do this, to experience people as they are from a mystical state. I think it was Albert Einstein, and I can't remember his exact words, but he said something like, either everything's a mystery or nothing's a mystery, or everything is holy or nothing is holy. And it's taught me that everything is incredible and mysterious and phenomenal. So that's what it's taught me.
I think that
And
was
that the
well.
differences, I think that the differences are the most powerful things. And we must celebrate the differences, actually.
Yeah, I think that's what I've got from what you've been speaking about over the last couple of weeks, Liz. Is really if we've got that awareness and we've got that willingness to go inside, we can explore this for ourselves.
Yes.
You don't have somebody standing by us and saying, you should be thinking XYZ, you should be feeling XYZ. you can experience this for yourself. And I love
That's
how
right.
you've expressed being tuned in, like different frequencies,
Yes.
picking up on all this awareness around us
Mm.
and filtering it through our different centers, whichever one is predominant for us. I've
You
really
know
enjoyed
how,
hearing that.
thank you. How I often explain it in a class is, especially in Port Elizabeth now, where I am, it's like you've got an FM's radio station, you've got Radio Goa, you've got an Afrikaans station, you've got Radio 2000, you've got Radio 5. They're all receivers and transmitters of information, and you can tune in to anyone you like, can't you?
Mm.
They're
Yes.
all on a different, is it wavelength or broadband or whatever? So,
Mm.
but our receptors are specific. They've been specifically designed and created for this specific purpose, to tune in, to grasp certain information and to leave other information.
Yeah.
And that could take us to another whole chapter.
Isn't it amazing that not all alike? We all are unique.
Yes, exactly.
I just want to see there were some more questions. I think this one we haven't answered.
Pleasure.
So two people can go to an event and then have a completely different impression of it after. That's from Anastasia.
100% Anastasia. Totally, totally, totally. Because we'll all pick up on something different. You know, I've often given talks over the last 30 years, and at the end of the talk, somebody has said something to me and said, "Now I said this," and I thought, "Did I say that? I don't recall saying that." No, no, you definitely said this, or you definitely didn't say that. So it's like one is the receiver and one is the transmitter, and we're all picking up different information. So you're quite right. We can have totally different impressions and have heard different things in that event.
There was a lovely question here as well. Oh, there we go. From Sylvia. Liz, can you expand on the personal and impersonal expressions of the different points? Wow, that's an interesting question.
And
I'm
it's a
glad
very,
you're
I'm
going to
going
answer
maybe I won't.
that.
it's a it's a very big question, Sylvia. Can I expand on the personal and the impersonal? Well, all the virtues are energy, and we begin with a pure energy, a pure state. And as we grow, we change that more, because we have to grow in ego. We have to form an ego, which is the container, and we need a strong container. And now we're not in heaven anymore per se. We've now landed on earth, so things are now taken very personally. It's not to say that earth still isn't crammed with heaven, but our reality of it has changed. So I think I'd have to do a whole workshop on that, Sylvia, on the
I'm
personal and the
wondering,
impersonal.
I'm wondering, Liz, do you want me to show that diagram? I meant to show it right at the end, but
Oh,
didn't.
yes, yes.
Do I have it? Yes, I do have it. Hold on a moment. Do you want to maybe just discuss, or and you did mention these points, but I think
Yes,
that touches on what Sylvia was asking.
yes. Um, well, let's touch on this. Holy wholeness starts off as a pure state and is often termed in Enneagram circles as holy perfection. And when it moves into the human or the personal, it then becomes integrity. And holy love in the pure state then, what I have in my head is to say devolves, but it's not really devolves. It becomes personal love. And holy hope becomes personal. So all these qualities Holy mercy becomes forgiveness. Holy knowledge becomes information. And holy faith, what does that become?
Trust, maybe.
Still holding the faith. Loyalty, loyalty,
Loyalty.
loyalty.
That's what loyalty
It's
is.
about loyalty. Yes. And holy bliss is the unlimited state of awareness. And this becomes many, many, many options. And holy justice can turn into personal justice, what I think is just and what I think is unjust. And holy unity can turn into personal. I want it to be harmonious and unified, which ceases to be the pure, undivided state. So I hope that's touching on an answer for Sylvia.
I think that definitely does. I think there's another one here that we could answer. Why is it so difficult to recognize your own points sometimes?
I think I would say because we are so externally focused, Anastasia. The phone's going all the time with WhatsApps and messages and videos, and the apps are pinging here and something's pinging there, and Facebook notifications and LinkedIn notifications and all these notifications. So we're being extraordinarily pushed externally all the time, and then everything's external. So it's very difficult to come internally and to see actually what's going on inside of me. I'm the greatest book I could ever read. You are the greatest book, the greatest movie that you could ever learn to read or to understand. And it's about time, I think. That's a personal opinion, nothing to do with the Enneagram. I have to clarify that. I think it's time in our world at present that we moved internally and got to know ourselves a little bit more instead of being all external. And we use these amazing qualities and these virtues for something higher than our own personal good.
Thanks, Liz. I think you've summed that up beautifully. I know that is what a lot of people have actually said to me over this time, that the pandemic has actually forced their attention inwards. And that's where a lot of people have started looking for what is meaningful for me as a person, what is meaningful for my family, what is meaningful for the society that I'm in. How am I going to change? Or where is this going to take me? So I'm really enjoying the fact that this has actually forced us to look inwards. Here we go. Anastasia says thank you. Great. So let's see, there's another comment here on Pat, Patricia. Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely. We're getting lots of comments. Know thyself. Yes. Too true, Peter. Know thyself. Yes. So, Liz, have you got any more comments before we close up? It's now 7:43. We need to kind of get ready for our nationwide address.
Yes, we do.
So I think I'd like to just say thank you very much. Thank you for coming on this. I want to say television show, not television show. It feels like it.
It's very stressful.
Thank you for coming and viewing this live interview with Elizabeth Devlin. And we shall talk to her again next week, where she'll be speaking about stress and secure positions of the Enneagram. And that'll be the 5th session, the final session. I can't remember what was the final session. The instincts. Okay.
Yes. I
so
just
we've got
wanted to.
Oh,
My sons will tell you I've always got something additional to say. The stress and I see the stress and secure positions as our pillars of support. So that's what I'll be speaking about next week, our pillars of support.
Okay. We've got one final question from Simon. How can we learn to see our shadows? I think that's quite an involved question. Maybe we could look at that for next week, Liz. Unless you want to comment on it now.
How we can learn to see our shadows.
That's quite
I
a lot of
think
stuff.
it is, but as a very quick one, I would say, how would you like me to introduce you? What qualities in you would you like me to say? Okay, Simon, um, there's 20, 30, 40 people here. I'd like to introduce you to Simon Hook. Simon is, or Simon likes, or Simon enjoys, and name those qualities about yourself. Well, your shadows are probably the opposite of that. So
Uh,
think about your image and what you like to portray. So let's say you were a 9, just let's say. So you would like to say, I'm peaceful, I'm harmonious, I like unity, I like everything to be smooth and comfortable. Well, your shadow's probably the opposite to all that, and you don't see those times when you create disharmony, where you create confusion, where you can create disharmony, all sorts of things. So look at the side of yourself that you value, and we want to polish that side. And then your shadow is probably sitting at the back there, the opposite of those qualities.
And I want to also say, Liz, that often we criticize ourselves. So, I mean, a lot of people are self-judgmental, and
Yes.
we learn to we have to, fit in with a certain way that society wants to perceive me. So maybe we can also hide a lot of our gifts in our shadow, or the
Absolutely.
things. So it's
100%.
not, as you said, it's the things that maybe we don't want people to see, but it can also be the opposite. It can be
Yes.
our gifts, our
Yes.
sacred
Which are the
gifts.
qualities we're not mature enough to handle now today as a
Mhm.
child? We don't have the maturity or the stability, mental stability, emotional stability, financial stability, marital stability. When we don't have the stability to cope with something, then it goes in our shadow until we're ready to bring it out. Well, we don't even bring it out, it is brought out for us, whether we like it or not.
I think this time is just bringing it all out. We've got to be, we face
Absolutely.
everything, whether we like it or not. So maybe this answers the last question, Anastasia, where one can
Can
start.
start. I think find an Enneagram teacher, Anastasia, and find out their qualifications. Don't just go for anybody. See who they've taught, where they're trained, are they qualified, with whom. I mean, there's lots of Enneagram schools you can go to. So choose somebody who's done quite a bit of work, and yes, and then a set of classes, a workshop. But it's a process. It's a process. It's not a one-off thing. It can take years and years and years, because we've waited 20, 30, 40, 50, and I'm over 70 years to get to where we are. And now actually we've got to unlearn everything, or maybe let it all go. It's not really important. Um, so it's not an easy process. Growth is a process of surrender, surrender, surrender.
And starting with the awareness, I think that
Yes,
you highlighted that last week or the week before.
yes,
So yes, one of the first steps is willingness. I think that's what you actually pointed
yes,
out. Willingness,
yes,
number one. And then secondly, the awareness, actually just coming back to oneself. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What senses am I feeling in my body? And which is more predominant? Because remember what
yes.
Liz said, one of those will be more predominant.
And never why.
Never why.
Never why.
Yes. Nadine, thank you for stimulating dialogue.
Oh,
Lovely. So I think, Liz, we better wrap this up. It's now 10 to 8.
yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's commented, who's asked us questions. Please ask us even more questions. Well, not me, us, actually, Liz, because Liz is answering. I'm
Thank you.
facilitating. So, yes, we're looking forward to next week, Liz. We'll be talking about stress and secure positions on
Thank
the
you
Ennea.
very much.
Thank you, everybody. Take care and
And
have a lovely week. Safe week and a sound week. Cheerio.
bye bye.
Bye-bye.